Have you ever wanted to watch a bad acid trip with the budget of a film school final project? Well, look no further because we've found the film for you. Ink is about a mysterious creature known as ink, funnily enough. It steals children's souls, hoping to use it as a bargaining chip to join a group of supernatural beings that make nightmares. Because who wouldn't want to be a part of that? While I may give you my opinion on the film here, that's no substitute for experiencing it yourself. Links to the movie are in the description as well. Ink opens up with John walking down to his car while carrying a box. One can only assume that he's been fired. This also explains why he screams obscenities into the void right before he gets T-boned by a crossover SUV. And in real life, that would have been enough to get the credits rolling, but we can already tell we're in for one of those films, so get ready to be entertained. John's ears begin to ring, and a weird hand reaches out to touch John's head. Once it makes contact, John's face seems to glitch right before our eyes before the screen goes white and he wakes up in his bed. Then the world's most annoying child grabs his nose until he reluctantly wakes up. There she interrogates her father. It's no wonder that this child is involved in a movie about making nightmares. John continues to tell his daughter that he isn't the one to play with her. He puts it off onto his wife. Even after he makes his way all the way to her outside play area, he still is just telling this girl that he doesn't play like that. Maybe his lack of imagination is why he got fired.
Take them out.
I just don't do this, okay?
It's got me. Come on, save me.
But right before the little girl loses hope in her dad, he musters up what little bit of energy he has and unleashes it on the imaginary monsters that the little girl is trying to fight. If anyone charged at me screaming and flailing like that, I'd probably assume they were just crazy, and for some reason the movie thought this was a good spot to put the title screen, following it up with an edgy montage shot of the city that reminds you of the early 2000s crime shows. The way the camera jumps around, it should come with an epilepsy warning in the beginning. With a couple flickers of light, an entity appears in the middle of their street in the middle of the night. Suddenly, 5 more flickers occur and 5 more people appear. So far, no big deal, but then these creepy people start walking on the roof like a cat and breaking into houses. You mean to tell me no one in this nice neighborhood has an alarm system or even a dog? It turns out that these beings are the ones that control dreams, but when they come to the little girl, she's still awake. Aloe visits her room and sits there watching her wild imagination at work. When she lies down to sleep, a new shadow appears outside. While the first people were creeping into everyone's house, these figures look like the type that nightmares are fueled by. The first people look like pure joy in comparison. These figures control nightmares. Their eerie shadow and gaze fall upon anyone that is affected by their power. As the night comes to a more peaceful end, one final being appears. This being carries a sort of silent terror with him. What is that? I take back what I said. I can't take that seriously. This hilarious ink monster makes his way into Emma's room, and with a touch of a finger, he seems to pull her soul out of her body. If it wasn't for his nose, this would be a little terrifying. Suddenly, Aloe comes bursting through her bedroom window and proceeds to fight the being. This jump scare was the last thing I was ever expecting, but it definitely pulled me back in. After a surprisingly epic fight scene, Ink makes off with Emma to another world. As they venture through, we catch a glimpse of what he sees. Next thing you know, we're in a forest with a man named Jacob who has tape over his eyes. This man is supposed to help us find Emma and bring her back.
You're the one that got your ass kicked.
This brand of dialogue is so refreshing in an otherwise creepily serious film. As Ink pulls Emma into another line of reality, she ends up hurting her foot. In a moment of comfort, it kneels down and helps her before taking her farther. Once they go down into the sewers, a door appears that takes them to a void room with screens hanging. At the end of the room is one of those nightmare-creating creatures from before.
I need help. No.
As he approaches it, he speaks for the first time. For some reason, hearing this nightmare creator speak just makes them even more unsettling. We cut back over to John, who is handling more business as a man comes into his office. The man explains that someone dear to John is in the hospital and could die. He mentions that Emma needs John. This is probably one of the most abrupt story jumps ever, but it definitely propels the story.
This insignificant man.
We also hear this weird voice play from some void space that we can only assume is his conscience. It's moments like this one that make me feel like this movie is way too serious to be having a child snatcher with the face of a hobgoblin. After a quick flashback of John's rise to power, we begin to understand why he isn't in Emma's life anymore. It also makes me understand that this film is gonna be taking a lot of liberties with the timeline, seeing how about 20 minutes ago he was playing with Emma. This flashback shows the death of his wife and the court taking custody of Emma from him. John's demeanor all of a sudden makes a lot more sense. Now we're back with Aloe and Jacob, who are joined with two other protectors in a shiny field. After Aloe plays her drum, the four of them are transported to the hospital that Emma was admitted to. Once Jacob listens to some details about the scene, he realizes that something isn't right and asks where her parents are. As Ink drags Emma towards their destination, he notices a presence behind them. He pushes Emma aside and attacks the assailant. Aloe needs to take lessons from this woman. Emma never would have been kidnapped. The two of them continue fighting until she rips the hood off of Ink's head, unveiling the creature for what he is. A hobgoblin, that's what he is. The music here is all soft and sad, but the music alone is not enough to make me forget that nose. After Ink pulls his hood back on, he activates a device on his arm, which is apparently a trigger to an explosive pill he gave Emma earlier. So the woman tries to barter her life for Emma's, which Ink almost does. But once he comes face to face with her, he can't do it. After John takes part in a business meeting, he's transported back to his childhood where we're shown that he came from nothing. Then we jump to his mother paying with food stamps. I can't imagine that is the most embarrassing moment in his childhood, but that's what his subconscious pulled out. I'm more concerned about where his physical body really is right now. Well, this movie just took a turn, but of course we have to wait for answers on that. We've jumped to Aloe and her group walking down the street again. Aloe and her group pull out an ancient device that they refer to as the Big Guns, and then they spot John walk out of his office building. As they observe him, we only find out now that the nightmare creators are called Incubus, and we only know that because of course one is shadowing John. Now we cut over to Ink, who still has Emma, but now he has the woman in chains too. As Emma talks to the woman, we begin to uncover that the two have a stronger connection than anyone anticipated. The three of them come to an old factory where someone or something sends Ink flying. Turns out it's just a sniffling weasel of a man who's in charge of guarding the codes to a place called the Assembly. Ink is delivering Emma to the Assembly in exchange for becoming an incubus. This world makes no sense. Were those marble beans? Also, why is it always a little rat of a man that's in charge of the biggest things in the universe? And they've always gotta be a hoarder too. Once he gets his eyes on the woman in chains, his whole facial expression changes as though he's seen something of great value. He refers to her as the storyteller. We now cut over to Owl and Jacob, who are looking for a link to a chain reaction. And it's here that we see John come out of his building with the box from the beginning. There's the thing. Now explain more. I feel like we've come full circle, yet nothing has been solved at all. You mean the last hour has only been used to explain the first 2 minutes of the movie? Fair enough. After Aloe reaches him, she touches his forehead. It's her. She's the one from the beginning. Aloe gives John flashback dreams of when he met his wife. We quickly cut to Ink and his captives, who are now concerned as to why the storyteller wants Emma. After his hood falls off again, the storyteller asks him how he got his scars.
Why the scars, Ink?
This is a very touching and deep moment. Why couldn't they have given him a different nose? I want to feel sympathy and get caught up in the moment, but that darn nose is so protruding, distracting, that I can't remember if this is a serious film or not. We find out that the Assembly promised to remove his scars and his pain so long as Ink agreed to bring Emma to them. Emma is his golden ticket to a pain-free existence. After a long walk, they come to a door under a bridge, and once they enter, they see a greenhouse with a woman named named Sadie there to greet them. Although it feels a little late to be introducing substantial side characters, this is an ingenious addition. She's just creepy. As Ink speaks with Sadie, the storyteller explains to Emma that most people they've met are all dead, yet some refuse to become good or evil souls. Alil and Jacob are riding in an ambulance with John, who is obviously in critical condition. While he's under, he has a flashback dream of his wife in the same situation. This film really hits you hard sometimes. The deeper message behind the cool effects is so overpowering sometimes that you forget that this isn't a big budget film. If there's anything to be said for this movie, it's that the acting by everyone is phenomenal. I hope they all went forward to do bigger things. Now that Ink has the codes needed to gain access to the assembly, he begins to question his actions even more. Morality battle at its finest. He doesn't wait until the end to change his mind. The fact that he's actually struggling with this throughout, yet keeps pushing forward, shows that his character is so well developed that we don't question why. Again, I just praise how good this film is at handling serious conflicts. Then the incubus pop up with little baby hands on sticks. What is going on? While John is still having flashback dreams, they're no longer just meeting his wife. Now his daughter Emma has come into the picture. As he comes to in the hospital, he starts to reevaluate his life. This doesn't mean everything else is calm. On the other side of realms, Alil and her crew are encountered by a group of incubus that are coming for John. Now, if that isn't one of the most sinister entrances, then I don't know what is. As John walks around the hospital like a zombie, completely oblivious to what's going on in the other realm, Alil's partners and Jacob buy them as much time as possible. As John approaches Emma's body, the incubus are taking Emma and the storyteller to their master.
When I die, will I be a storyteller like you?
If Emma asking that doesn't pull at your heartstrings, then you're already an incubus. As the lead incubus approaches them, he stabs the storyteller in the stomach. Yet another abrupt change in pace. He tells Ink that he will get exactly what he came for. As he prepares to sacrifice Emma, the storyteller gives Ink that last spark of hope, and Ink has a change of heart.
Suicide, wasn't it? I can tell from your scars your entry was painful.
Honestly, if you didn't see that coming, then I'm so sorry. But the process of having someone's future actions impact your present actions to help save yourself was ingenious. Does it make logical sense? Definitely not, but I'm here to be entertained and feel something. Leave me be. Hold on though, you mean to tell me that the storyteller knew who he was the whole time? Why couldn't she just tell him before? We don't always need to have the characters have a personal revelation. Sometimes you can just walk them through it. Well, that's the final connection we needed. Very well done. As Emma realizes her father's face in ink, she embraces him and her soul returns to her body, where her father's real body is waiting for her to return. And we assume they live happily ever after. This is yet another film that was surprisingly well done that never got shown the light of day. Hopefully, this film can get a little cult following now that it's been out for 12 years, but even if only a few people find it, that'll still be a win. I absolutely enjoyed it, even when it seemed to be more silly than serious, but in the end, it pulled through better than I expected. I hope you enjoyed the video, and by all means, watch the film for yourself. There's something there for everyone. If you did like it, leave a like on the video and suggest what I should watch next. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one, and I'll see you in the next video.